Church family, hey, it's Tuesday. I hope you guys had a great rest of your Sunday. This past Sunday, it was weird, but wonderful. Having faces to look at on Sunday morning. Um, it's weird because it had been so long, but it was wonderful just to have life happening in the sanctuary again. We hadn't met in the church as a church family on a Sunday as a congregation since March 8th, I believe, was the last Sunday. We were all here, and then the 15th, and then the 21st or 2nd. We had just our worship team, and then after that, it was just Tracy and I. So it was oddly it was weird to have faces again, but it was so wonderful. And I hope those of you that were able to come, that did come, you just felt a sense of that family connection being back together. But I hope and pray that those of you that made the decision to stay home and watch online, which is totally great. It's a great decision. I hope that you still felt like part of the family. I don't want, through this process of us reopening, not reopening, let me rephrase that. Through this process of us returning to in-person gathering, we've never been closed. Through this process of returning to our in-person gathering, I don't want you to feel like if you're one of those that are waiting, for maybe a vaccine or for more of an all clear kind of designation. I don't want you to feel like you're not making the right decision, or that you're missing something, or you're missing out on something. I want you to understand and know that we are really putting a lot of effort into our live stream. Our entire service on Sunday was really specifically geared to you, those of you that chose to stay home and watch, as far as like when we started and what time we were trying to get done, and that everything that happened was visible in front of the camera. We didn't do any extra praying. We didn't do any extra anything without you. So it's just important for me that you know that we value you and appreciate you and love you just as much as anybody that came through the doors on Sunday. But we are trying to return back to in-person gathering. And so as the weeks go on and as these phases make sense to keep moving through, we are going to do so. Right now we're in phase one. Phase one is just like what we call a soft opening. There's no extras. The only thing we're doing is worship service. Even our worship team isn't playing right now. We are watching the same exact playlists that Tracy puts together that are on our YouTube channel. We're watching the same ones that you, home, watching online, have the opportunity to watch. And we're watching them when you're watching them. So when the camera comes back live, it's because we have finished watching and quietly singing or humming through those songs. That brings me to singing. One of the things we're trying not to do on Sunday morning is to sing out loud, especially if you don't have a mask on. We're not requiring masks. We are recommending them. But if you choose not to wear one, we just ask that you don't sing out loud, like really loud out loud. You can hum, whisper. We're just trying to limit what studies have said about the aerosolizing of the virus when we sing. And so we're trying to do a good job of keeping everyone safe and making everyone feel like they're safe and that we're taking things seriously. That's really important as we move forward. We never want to take for granted that we have this opportunity to begin to return to our in-person gathering. Enough about that. I'm excited today. I'm excited today because of what's coming. I'm excited today because it's today. I'm excited today because this is the day the Lord has given us. I'm excited for that fact because I'm to make the best of that day, right? The day that we've been given, and that's today. I'm excited, though, for Sunday. I'm excited for the process. I'm excited for the process of study for Sunday, for the Sunday's message. We're going to be in Psalm 51, verse 12a. 51, verse 12a, the first part of the last verse of our psalm prayer from Psalm 51, which says, "Restore to me the joy of your salvation." David is praying this prayer to God. Restore to me the joy of your salvation. One of the things I've looked at as I've prayed this prayer for a little while, one of the things I've looked at in working through this prayer and studying is a little bit of a distinction, I guess, in the prayer itself. You know, Psalm 51, verse 11, Psalm 10, Psalm 51, verse 10, Psalm 51, verse 11. Those seem to be very, like, how do I put this? Very, I did something wrong, fix me, Lord, kind of prayers, right? Create in me a pure heart, O God. Renew a steadfast spirit within me. Do not cast me from your presence or take your Holy Spirit from me. You know, very much like a repentant, I need fixing, I've done something wrong. I'm acknowledging I've done something wrong. I'm acknowledging that I don't have authority and that you do. I'm denying myself and I'm exalting you. That's the type of prayer. When we hit verse 12, it seems to be in the wording a little change, right? We have this prayer of restoration. Restore to me the joy of your salvation. And then in the rest of the verse 12, grant me a willing spirit to sustain me. Restore and grant, right? Very much like give to me something that is going to make me, one, never do what I've just done again. Grant to me, restore to me our relationship, the presence that we maintained together, that you allowed me to be with you. Restore that. Grant that back to me, right? And that might just be my own thinking. So do your own study on that, or your own thinking on that if you don't agree. But I'm excited for Sunday. Restore to me the joy of your salvation. I mean, I've been looking at a lot of different stuff today. I've been reading in the Psalms. I've been reading in Ezekiel. The first thing that popped in my mind when that word restore, was the dry bones, right? The valley of the dry bones. And God speaking to Ezekiel and telling him what to prophesy to the bones and what those bones represent in Israel, a lost, dead, turned away people that God is going to restore. We may be in that on Sunday. I don't know. I don't know yet. I'm excited about, I just want to talk all about it right now, but I don't want to misuse the context. And so I'm going to study some more about that. But I'm also thinking of Lazarus, you know, Jesus calling Lazarus out of the grave. Lazarus has been dead for 4 days, right? And Jesus shows up on the scene on purpose late. People who don't love God, people who don't understand contexts, people who just aren't interested in God, read something like that and think, what kind of a God would on purpose let a guy die and not show up when he could have saved him, right? Because God. Jesus all along had intention of saving Lazarus. The saving of Lazarus, it didn't matter to God whether it was 4 days earlier or 4 days later. It was going to be the same. It was for the people, right? It was for perhaps his sisters. It was perhaps for his disciples. It was perhaps for the people there mourning. Perhaps for the people there pretending to mourn. You know, the professional mourners that were brought in. Perhaps it was the leaders. Perhaps it was the leaders of the law or whatever else, Pharisees that were there, if they were there. Perhaps it was something to that effect. Some reason, some way, God allowed this to continue on, even though he knew he would be there. There was a reason that there was a delay. And I think it's important, you know, when we feel like things are delayed, right? As long as we trust God, the delay is only can be for our benefit, even if it's a delay that doesn't seem right or fair. But I believe that Lazarus wasn't just brought back to life. Lazarus wasn't just made back to his original self. That's what makes me think of Lazarus when I think of this restored, and makes me think of Ezekiel and the dry bones. When these bones are dry, they're parched by sun, and all of a sudden God speaks, tells Ezekiel to speak this prophecy over them, and the muscles and the tendons and the sinew and everything grows back onto them, right? The skin and everything returns, but there's no breath. And then I love that distinction, like, prophesy to the breath, Son of Man, right? Prophesy to the breath. Like, you got to prophesy about this part. That reminds me of restored. He restores these bones, but then he transforms these bones, right? He restores the bones by the work of his hands, the work of his words, and creates them to what they were. That's what restored is, right? But he transforms them with his breath, with his spirit, right? And we see that in Lazarus. There's no possible way that Lazarus was the same guy before he died that he was after. There's no way. Even the Pharisees wanted to kill, the leaders of the law of the day wanted to kill Lazarus, as well as Jesus, but also Lazarus, because of what Jesus did with him, because of what Jesus did through him, right? And then people were starting to come to Jesus, to believe in Jesus because of that miracle, a miracle that cannot be explained other than God, right? How's the Lord working in your life today? How is he working in your life with the praying of these prayers every day? Psalm 139 verses 23 and 24, Psalm 51 verses 10, 11, and 12. How is God working in your life? How is he restoring you? How is he transforming you? If you only feel restored, you've only gotten half, maybe not even half of what the Lord offers. So I challenge you, and I encourage you, and I invite you to continue to pray. Continue to pray those psalm prayers. Continue to allow God to do work in your life. And then continue in the doing of the being transformed and impacting other people's lives, even if it's just the people around you right now. But if it's other people, maybe in the community or long-lost relatives or acquaintances or maybe an enemy of yours, how do you work out that transformation in your life? It's real. It's real. And so I guess ponder those questions today. I'm going to end with this. It's too long already. We had an account established, a fund established this past December at the end of the year. I did a video on it not too long ago. I just feel impressed to say this right now, and so I'm going to. We call it a Be a Blessing Fund. It was a fund set up that allowed me, the church, to help people in need. People outside of our church, in our community, and people within. That fund has been well utilized since the beginning of the year. It really started to be utilized in March. A little bit in the beginning of the year, but March is when it really started picking up. And it really wasn't necessarily COVID-19 related, but I've seen it picking up more this last month than it even has prior to that. Just in the needs that I get emails about, maybe phone calls or text messages, needs that pop up within our church family, people in need, car repairs or other big projects where the income is limited or non-existent, and there's really no other way. We try to come alongside in many different ways. And so I guess I'm saying this to encourage you to, if you are able and are willing to give to that fund, it would be amazing to keep that going. It's almost gone, which is awesome. It means we've been able to bless a lot of people, and we really have. It's a crazy spectrum of the type of help we have been able to offer. Not me by any stretch of the imagination. It's just me saying yes to the need. But it was the vision of the gift and the trust in the gift and the direction and the leading of the Lord that has allowed this all to happen. And so if you're able to give to that, be a blessing on an online giving, or be a blessing on a check, or send some money some way, or drop it off to be a blessing fund. And I just hope we can keep it going. It has been a tremendous impact in our community. And I thank you guys for that. I know many of you have already given to continue that on. Thank you. Your money's being utilized in incredible ways. You have definitely been a blessing. And so if you're able to, let's keep it going. I think that's it. I'm well over 15 minutes now, 16 minutes. You guys have heard enough of my voice. I'll come back to you on Friday. Friday, I will have probably more direction on the message for Sunday. Looking forward to that. I want you to know that I am so grateful to be your pastor. This is not something that I wanted to do, and I hope that doesn't offend you. I liked being a youth pastor, and I'm often, sad at times with not having that direct impact in students' lives. But I felt like the Lord was leading me to say yes to something that was far bigger than me and very, very uncomfortable for me. But I'm coming up on a year, and I'm just sitting here so grateful, even grateful for what we've been having to go through with this pandemic and social distancing and separation. My love for you has grown. My want for you to grow in relationship with Jesus is exponentially grown. You will get sick of me saying stuff about surrendering. You will get sick of me sticking around John in the Gospel of John when I preach. You will probably get sick of hearing the same thing over and over again. But it's not that I feel like my time is limited, but we're not promised anything. And so it's almost like every moment of every chance that I get to share God's word with you, I want to share the love of Christ. I want to share how much he loves you and how much he wants you in relationship with him. I want to share how much you need to surrender and deny yourself and to seek him. That our best position is in surrender before the Lord. That's our best position. He will lead us the best from that position. If that sounds like a weak kind of statement, I get it. I used to think the same thing. But our Creator doesn't make mistakes when he creates, and he created us for relationship with him. He created us. We did not create him. And so getting ourselves back into the place of being created and not trying to be the creator, that's where we belong, and that's where we function best. And we honestly will live our happiest, our joyous, most joyful, happiest lives. Now, happy is an emotion that can come and go, but joy is lasting. Joy is foundational. And even if you're unhappy, you can still experience joy. And so I just encourage you to spend time with your Lord today, with our Lord today, and surrender. I love you guys. See you on Friday.